So hello, I want to take this opportunity to spread mental health awareness because mental health is a component of our overall well-being as a person and as a collective part of society. So one of the things that I want to do today is to break stigma about neurodivergence. So these things happen more often than we hear about it. A lot of people receive abuse, whether they're part of a minority group or they are part of the intellectually disabled population, or just they present themselves differently. And we need to talk about this. So my name is Winona Lumage. I am part of the neurodivergent population, having been diagnosed with ADHD myself and then later on ASD. When I was younger also, when I used to live in the US, in elementary school, I was also identified as gifted, being put in that education program. So here are famous people with autism. Some of them are controversial, like Elon Musk, and some have contributed to society in a way that we cannot deny. And some are, lightly celebrated for their achievements because they're in a niche group. Anyways, this is me. I even go as far as consenting to, talking about mental health in media to spread awareness. So this is just one of the things or events that I did or been a part of. So when you look at this person, a lot of people will go as far as to describe him as retarded, or in the Filipinos word sinto. And I think that is because research about intellectual disability, autism, and all these things have been only unfolding in the last couple of decades. So we don't know much about it. So this is the IQ bell curve, and I treat IQ as not something that we romanticize or not something that we pity on, depending on which part of the curve you're in. For me, it's just an actual number. So this is Dr. Linda Silverman. She talks a lot about upside down brilliance and asynchronous development in the neurodiverse population, or those who are gifted. And actually, giftedness is now part of neurodiversity, but sometimes they do overlap. Like they could have multiple diagnoses, and 40% of people with autism, or I don't know, around that figure, could be gifted as well. So yeah, we have a lot of invisible struggles because of the asynchronous development. And I think because of that, we're not afforded the right supports because people don't see that we're struggling, right? So this is what the dinosaur is about. It often leads to isolation because if you're part of the neurodivergent group, you're basically different in terms of your neurology from the rest of the population. And because you're different, oftentimes you become alienated in social groups. And that has actually caused a lot of mental health problems. If you look at the research on social identity and being part of out groups as a result of having neurodivergence and autism specifically, there was this research 2 years ago. So, people cope differently, some with drugs, and some people end up in prison because when they're not supported all throughout childhood and they're late diagnosed, right? They often have other comorbidities such as depression, anxiety, and other things that might cause them to behave that way. And one of the alarming concerns is suicide. For people with ASD, they are 7 to 9 times more likely to have ideation or to actually have attempt, whether it's an aborted attempt or unsuccessful attempt, or sadly a completed attempt. So one of the struggles is being late diagnosed, compared to when you were diagnosed early and are provided the right supports and given unconditional love by your parents. If you're late diagnosed, you have a lot of problems in terms of integrating that. So here is a child who is being bullied for being different, and this is just one of the things that people have to go through if you're neurodivergent, and especially if you're late diagnosed. You don't know how to advocate for yourself, and this is something that actually happens more often than we think. So Actually, I just want to give you guys attention that next month is the National Conference for ADHD. It's October 18 to 19, and I think a lot of people should attend, especially if they're in a position of leadership, whether it's in any institution or academe, so they could understand more about it. So I have two papers that I've submitted to the conference, and two of them actually got accepted, and I will be presenting them in the conference. And I'm happy to share my insights because now lived experiences are more given weight to, and there's also study as to why that is. So this is just my efforts to be part of this movement by the Autism Society of the Philippines, which is to create an AOK Autism Philippines, where people will understand people who are on the spectrum, so that our lived experiences are better in terms of social context. So here is the Socratic ignorance, and that is something I propose, that we all just recognize that we don't know a lot about these things, and that the intent is to stop ourselves from labeling things that we don't understand, but instead to come at things with curiosity. And yes, this is part of human rights. This is my argument that, you know, people who are neurodiverse, it's just another genetic variation, like you being tall or, you know, having a certain skin color. And we are supposed to be afforded human rights in terms of a more inclusive society. So thank you.